Okay, this video is going to work through problems 5 through 7 from exam 2, from the 2018 exam 2, sorry. Okay, so we're presented with some data about Barrington Clinic. It has 2 patient services departments, outpatient and inpatient, and it has 3 cost centers, housekeeping, admin, and financial services. So I've copied this out just so it's easier for me to work with. So the first question you're asked is management is, and you're told that housekeeping cost driver is square feet, cost driver for admin is number of employees, and cost driver for financial services is the number of bills. Step down order is as listed. Okay, so the first question is actually a theoretical question. Management has considered using housekeeping hours to allocate housekeeping costs rather than square feet. Briefly explain the pros and cons of using square feet versus actual housekeeping hours. So we don't actually need this just yet. So square feet, pro, it's cheap, right? We do it once and we don't have to think about it again unless we change the allocation of square footage between the 2 departments. The con, it's less accurate, right? What is the primary driver of housekeeping costs? Well, if you think about it, it's primarily people, right? It's hard work. It involves a lot of manpower. So the manpower is the key driver. Let's take as an example, to think this through, let's take an example that I think I used in class. Let's imagine we have a peds clinic, right, with 5,000 square feet, and an emergency department with 5,000 square feet. Under the square footage rule, they would split the cost 50-50 because they both have the same number of square feet. Which one actually takes more housekeeping expense to keep up? Hopefully the answer is obvious. It's the emergency department. Why? Because the emergency department runs 24/7, whereas pediatrics runs normal office hours of say 8 to 5. So 8 to 5, 5 days a week. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's just a lot more stuff happening in ED that needs to be cleaned up. Trash has to be taken out more often. More sweeping and mopping needs to happen in there. Plus, the things that happen in the ED are by definition messier, right? So you need to make sure that you've got people bleeding, you've got people throwing up, you've got just generally more of a mess. So using square footage between pediatrics and ED, it would be less accurate, but it would be cheaper. Pro of hours is it's more accurate, right? If we used hours as opposed to square footage, we'd get a more accurate breakdown. The con is it's more cost, right? If you're using square footage, you measure the square footage once and you're done. If you use hours, you have to pay somebody, a housekeeping supervisor, for example, to keep track of the number of hours being contributed to the ED versus the number of hours in pediatrics. So there's a cost-benefit analysis to be done. So that's all that is for problem 5. Problem 6 asks you to use the direct method of cost allocation to approximate the amount of cost allocated from admin to inpatient. So let's refresh on direct cost, how that works. Under direct cost method, you have your cost centers, housekeeping, admin, financial services, and they allocate their costs to the profit centers. Housekeeping sends some of its costs to outpatient and inpatient. Admin sends some of its costs to outpatient and inpatient. Financial services sends some of its costs to outpatient and inpatient. It ignores the relationship between the cost centers. It ignores the fact that admin gets some support from housekeeping and financial services gets some support from both of these guys. Right? It just ignores that and it does a direct allocation. So to calculate the cost allocation, we use our 4-step method. We need our cost pool for admin. Our cost pool for admin is its direct cost, which is 190. We need a cost driver. We're told that the cost driver for admin is number of employees. So under direct method, we're only paying attention to the profit centers. But remember, we don't want just inpatient, right? We first want to find out how is admin being allocated across the whole organization. So we need the number of employees for the whole organization. That's 220 plus 270, that's 490. So driver, 490 employees, right? The allocation rate is 190 divided by 490. 190,000 divided by 490 gives us 387.75 per employee. And so the amount allocated to inpatient then would be, so admin to inpatient is going to equal 387.75 times the number of employees, 270. So 387.75 times 270 gives us 104,694. Okay, so that's 6. 7 asks us to use the step-down method to allocate financial services to the outpatient department. So the difference between direct and step-down is now we're going to pay attention to the relationship between the support departments. So when we go to step-down housekeeping, a portion of housekeeping is going to go to outpatient and inpatient, but it's also going to go to admin and financial services. What happens then is instead of using the just the direct cost for the cost pool, the subordinate or secondary cost centers, the ones that are farther down in the step-down order, we add to their cost pool. We start with their direct cost, and then we add the portion of the support cost centers that have been allocated to them to the cost pool. And so the cost pools below that first allocation, the cost pools are changing. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're interested in ultimately in financial services to outpatient, but in order to get there, we have to calculate, we can't ignore housekeeping. We have to do housekeeping and admin first. Okay, so cost pool for housekeeping is 160,000, right? The driver we said was square footage, even though we said a minute ago that the better driver would be hours. In this problem, we're using square footage. Now, housekeeping is being allocated not just to the profit centers this time, it's being allocated to all the other cost centers that come later in the step-down process. So when we add up square footage, we're not going to just look at the profit centers. We're going to start with we're going to take every department that comes below housekeeping in the step-down order. So that's going to include inpatient, outpatient, financial services, and admin. So if we add that all together, that's going to be 78,000 square feet. Now, allocation rate, let's do the same thing. It's 160,000 cost pool divided by 78,000. What did I do there? 160 divided by 78 is 205.13. Because this is a small number and it's going to be multiplied by a big number, I'm going to try to carry as many decimals as I can. Okay, so now housekeeping is going to allocate to admin and financial services, right? And so we're going to start building the cost pool for admin, cost pool for financial services. The cost pool for admin is going to be its direct cost of 190 plus housekeeping. Fee for financial services is going to be 220 plus housekeeping plus admin. So with admin, they've got 1,600 square feet. So 1,600 square feet times 2.05 is roughly 3,282. So the cost pool for admin is going to be 193,282. The and we said 2.0513 per square foot times for feet for financial services is 1,400 square feet. $2,872. Okay. And we're not going to bother with outpatient and inpatient at this point because we don't care. We're really only interested ultimately in what the cost pool is for financial services. So now we can run the allocation for admin. The admin cost pool is 193,282. Right, so this is because admin comes second, its cost pool is both its direct cost plus the amount of support that it gets from housekeeping. The driver for admin is going to be number of employees. Now, remember, if we were doing direct, we would just look at the number of employees in the profit centers, but because we are including, because we're doing step down, we're going to include all the departments that come in the step down order below admin. So that's going to be financial services, outpatient, and inpatient. So we've got 220 plus 270 plus 30, that's 520 employees. The allocation rate then is 193,282 divided by 520, 372, well, 371.70. Okay, so now we want to finalize our financial services cost pool. So we need the 220 for their direct cost. They're getting 28.72 from housekeeping plus 371.69 per employee times they have 30 employees. 11,151, let's say, plus 28.72 plus 220 gives us a cost pool of 234,022 for financial services. Now we can finally allocate financial services to outpatient. Okay, so now cost pool for financial services is 234,022. The driver for financial services is number of bills. And remember, we're allocating across the whole, we're getting the allocation rate for the whole organization first. So we need the number of bills for both profit centers. So 18,000 plus 3,500, that's 21.5. So the allocation rate, 234,022 divided by 21,500 gives me $10.88 per bill. So financial services to outpatient is going to equal 1088 times 18,000 bills. Is 195,925.